giving us your time here, Aparajita. Just wanted to have a conversation with you talking about how there's a lot of conversation around complex issues like early marriage, primary health, disability, and how these complex issues, there's a dearth of funding in these issues, and the traditional financing is declining for them. Do you think that innovative financing can be a game changer for these issues?
Absolutely. I think innovative financing has the ability to go in places where traditional financing has refused to step in, especially when the risks are clearly out there and there is not enough data and evidence to support them at times. I think innovative financing can improve the funnel of funding, the kind of funding that's actually needed to address these solutions, not in a programmatic project by project mode, but really in a big game-changing way where they can look at complex societal problem facing an entire community or an entire state or even an entire country. So I do think innovative financing has the ability to be able to tackle complex societal problems, but of course they need to be structured better, and they need to be cognizant of the kind of risks associated and the ability to take risks.
Right. So you spoke of risks right now. What are the perceived risks by investors, by the various players in
I think there are many. Some of these I would say are well-founded. There are risks around each sector. Take something like early marriage, for example. How do you ensure that the funds that an investor puts in upfront into an innovative financing structure will actually tackle and create impact? It has to be a long-term investment into starting from, a time when a child is married early at say 7, 8 or 10 years old, to actually ensuring that data is tracked up till the time the child is 18 or 21 in the case of a girl or a boy, and ensure that the impact has really been achieved. So in some sense, what you need is a 10-year longitudinal data on what really happened. Not having an early marriage, has that prevented them in some way or enabled them in some way? So in some sense, the kind of risks that are associated with qualitatively superior data for that longer period, it is itself a big gamble to take for most investors. So, which is why, we often see that in innovative financing products, while pilots are being done on risk investors' money, what you really need is governments to step up. What you really need is sort of, not your usual actors, the unusual suspect to sort of come in and put in the kind of capital that can really absorb those sort of risks. There's also a lot of risk associated with sectors per se. There are sectors like healthcare where there is no single there's no single reason or cause that happens. There could be multiple factors affecting healthcare, and whether or not you address healthcare challenges, how they actually improve the quality of life or improve income opportunities is another sort of difficult correlation to make. And those are all risks that investors perceive. If I put in money my dollars as an investor into a new innovative financing structure, how can I be assured that money is actually going to be used for the project that will have the impact to create substantially superior quality of life? And that's where the biggest challenge for most investors is.
Do you think that measurability is also one of the risks that's involved, that comes with innovative financing?
I think so. I think it is. At least it's perceived as that. The good part is, or the good news is, that we have seen the pilots that we have seen till now in innovative financing mechanisms have all taken data and evidence building into account. So for the innovative financing structures out there is a fair amount of evidence that's starting to get built. But for any new player coming in, or when you're looking at tackling a new sector or subsector, the accountability piece becomes a big one, because it depends on the quality of implementing organization. It depends on the kind of data sets and evidence that exist in that sector. And at the same time, it is also dependent on the quality of the evaluators that are available out there. Say for a field like healthcare or education, which are which work at the national policy level, there are very qualitatively superior organizations present there. But for a lot of difficult problems, what you see is largely the civil society actors playing. So you don't necessarily have organizations that are working at the certification level or at, evaluation level at a global scale. So there is inherent accountability issues there that one doesn't know whether those CSOs, those organizations, non-profits or academic organizations, are they working for a specific mandate, or are they agenda driven, or are they really as non-partisan as they appear to be? So there are clear accountability issues there.
Yeah. Speaking of risks, do you see opportunities for IF products for complex issues? What are the big opportunities out there?
Personally, I think, having observed it now for close to a decade, I think there are, the opportunities are immense. I think there is need for more capital to come in, and not just from your standard donor agency. I think there is need for capital to come in from people, organizations that have the ability to take higher risk with their capital. So family offices, for example. I think they can step up in a big way. Individuals like you and me who can actually, buy risk or de-risk, in some sense, products and programs that are out there, because we, in any case, a lot of us do charity. We write a check to our favorite organization. Why not use it for programs where we know that outcomes are going to be achieved?
Absolutely.
So I do think that there are those immense opportunities. I would recap it saying it's at three levels. One at the level of the kind of stakeholders you want to engage. There is a broader funnel of actors that you want for them to have a more active role. So that's the first one. In terms of the kind of structures that can be explored, because we've seen traditional programs and projects, NGOs prefer to do it that way. Oftentimes even traditional organizations prefer to do it that way. I think there's immense opportunity in experimenting with it and making programs that are actually focused on outcomes from the word go rather than on inputs that are happening. And I think third is at the level of building knowledge and resources around it and saying, how can we make more data and more evidence available to public? It shouldn't just be for an organization that's implementing. If I, as a retail donor, want to be involved in it, I need to know what kind of risks are associated. I need to know what has happened to the 100,000 people who supported something like that before. So I do think there's immense opportunity in that space.
Right. That was very insightful. You're the chair of the Innovative Financing Solution Circle for Catalysing Social Impact. So you've been in conversation with many experts, many members for over 2 months now. What are the insights that have come from them around this topic?
I'm glad you asked that. So it's been, first of all, it's been a privilege being, chairing the Innovative Finance track at CSI this year. It's been both a learning journey, I think, for me individually, as well as for all the members that have been involved in the solution circles. We have had over 50 plus organizations that have actively participated in driving discussions in these past 2 months. And each of these organizations brings with it immense understanding and depth of their own knowledge through their work. Some of the key insights, I think, if I have to pick up my top 3, I would say the first one would probably be the fact that we assume a lot as implementing organizations. We assume this won't happen, no, this one wouldn't fund, there's no money out there in this space. I think the first one has really been, in that sense, the insight has been, don't assume, just try to make that breakthrough, speak to others, figure out what's happening there, because there are a lot of untested, never tried before kind of models that exist out there. So we can do that. The second sort of big insight is the importance, and I think I've harped upon this too much, but on the data and evidence building, that there is need for more transparency in the system. And each of us, whatever we are doing as organizations, as individuals, as intermediary setups, we need to build robust data sets. We need to put the evidence out there, and we need to talk about this. We need to build a mainstream understanding of what innovative financing itself means, because that we've heard both models. We have had people who'd come up and say, well, you're just talking about financing innovation. No, we're not talking about financing innovation. We're talking about changing the way finance itself works to demand better accountability and efficiency. So in some sense, we're looking for finance to work in a very different way than it's worked before in traditional financing, in typical grants or donor capital. And I think the third big insight for us has been about the power of and this is sort of a high-level insight, I would say, but the power of the community itself. The fact that when we as a collective put together people who've, or what I call the enlightened souls, the people who've actually put their life's blood into doing what they're doing, some amazing conversations happen. And out of some of these discussions, we've often have had these aha moments now on our calls, in our meetings, where we've said, wow, we didn't know these two things happened together, or two organizations were doing this. Why don't you guys come partner and do things together? And I think that's really the magic, in some sense, that CSI is starting to build. And that's the pleasure of seeing all this through from having a bird's eye view on all this going about in the 50-odd members that we've had as part of our specific community. So absolutely insightful discussions, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Right, yes. I mean, we're looking forward to see what the IF group comes up with from CSI. Thank you, Aparajita. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for giving us your insightful thoughts, and we hope to hear a lot from you soon.
Thank you, Arushi. It was a pleasure to speak with you.